Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into the brilliant and, let's be honest, kind of unsettling mind of Yuval Noah Harari. We're going to dive into his sweeping narrative from Homo Deus and explore exactly how humanity managed the impossible. How did we conquer nature? And more importantly, what thrilling or maybe terrifying futures waiting for us just over the horizon? Okay, here's our roadmap for today. We'll be moving chronologically through 5 phases: conquering the ancient gods, the power of shared stories, the humanist illusion, the great decoupling, and finally, the rise of Dataism. We're basically stepping straight from our biological past as simple apes right into the staggering paradoxes of our synthetic future. Section 1. Conquering the ancient gods. Overpowering the ancient drama of survival. So we're starting at the very beginning of human history. For thousands of years, our ancestors were basically just trembling actors on a stage totally ruled by nature's cruelty. Praying for rain, hiding from disease, and just hoping they wouldn't starve. Just to really put that vulnerability into perspective, 1 in 3. That staggering fraction is the number of Europeans killed by the Black Death in the 14th century. It tragically illustrates just how completely helpless we once were against invisible assassins. Disease was this huge mystery, usually blamed on sin or bad air. But watch how dramatically this changes. Back in the year 1300, a bad harvest meant entire kingdoms starved. Famine was seen as a literal act of God. But then, human science starts fighting back. By 1796, Edward Jenner invents the very first vaccine, kicking off our war against the plague. Fast forward to the 21st century, and despite what we see on the news, statistically, war deaths have absolutely plunged. Step by step, we systematically dethroned the ancient gods of famine, plague, and war. But having defeated those external enemies, we're left with this bizarre paradox. We're kind of empty. So we set a new, incredibly ambitious agenda. We're trying to upgrade ourselves, moving from Homo sapiens, the wise man, to Homo Deus, the godlike human. We want immortality, we want chemically engineered happiness, and we actually want divinity, the literal power to design and create life in our own labs. Section 2. The power of shared stories, the spark that ignited human planetary dominance. To really understand where we're going with these godlike ambitions, we absolutely have to figure out how we got here in the first place. How did a frail, pretty unremarkable ape manage to reshape the entire planet into the age of humans? Well, roughly 70,000 years ago, something invisible but completely monumental happened. We call it the cognitive revolution. And the crazy thing is, this wasn't a change in our physical bodies or our DNA. It was a fundamental shift in the invisible stories playing out inside our heads. The crucial takeaway here is that our unique ability to cooperate in vast numbers, it doesn't come from biology. It comes from shared fictions. Think about it. You can't convince a chimpanzee to trade a banana today for a promise of heaven tomorrow. But humans, we do that kind of thing all the time. Concepts like money, nations, human rights, they exist entirely in our collective imagination. And those shared beliefs are exactly what allowed us to conquer the globe. Which brings us to the ultimate odd couple of human existence. On one hand, we've got our biology, Paleolithic instincts designed for a harsh wilderness where you literally had to gorge on sugar just to survive. But on the other hand, we have our culture, this world of modern abundance, huge supermarkets, and global digital networks. We are essentially cavemen flying spaceships, and honestly, that mismatch is the source of so much of our modern anxiety. Section 3. The Humanist Illusion. How the human heart became the center of the universe. So as we marched out of those primitive dark ages and into modernity, humanity made a radical shift. We created a brand new covenant, one that placed us, not the heavens, at the absolute center of all meaning. This shift gave birth to humanism. It's the movement that sparked the Renaissance. It basically told us to stop looking up to priests or kings for answers and start trusting our own inner compass. Follow your heart. Listen to your feelings. That essentially became the invisible religion of the modern world. You can clearly trace how this power evolved over time. In the divine era, meaning came from scriptures, and the ultimate promise was a reward in the afterlife. But in the modern era, meaning comes from science, capitalism, and humanism. The promise shifted completely toward earthly progress. We essentially traded our faith in the invisible for faith in human reason and self-made utopias. But here is the great, kind of terrifying irony of our explainer today. The very science that humanism championed is now turning around and dismantling it. Science is actually proving that our sacred feelings and our inner voices are really just biochemical algorithms. And if they're just algorithms, well, that means they can be mapped, hacked, and even predicted by machines. Section 4. The Great Decoupling. The impending divorce between thinking and feeling. This realization brings us to one of the most critical and mind-bending shifts we'll talk about today. A fundamental splitting of two traits we once thought were permanently, biologically fused together. For all of history, intelligence and consciousness went hand in hand. Intelligence is problem solving, right? And consciousness is the ability to feel. But now we can actually separate them. Evolution is beginning to favor sheer, raw intelligence, and it's leaving consciousness behind. We're currently building machines that can perform flawlessly. They drive cars, they diagnose diseases without ever needing to feel a single thing. What we're witnessing is the slow, quiet obsolescence of humanity. Think about the steps. First, we outsourced our physical muscle to machines. Then, we outsourced our memory and routine to algorithms. Now, we are outsourcing our very judgment to artificial intelligence. With each step, sure, life gets easier. But we risk becoming a useless class, a generation completely locked out of the loop of history, simply because these systems don't need our unpredictable emotions anymore. It really is a haunting reality. As we sit on this laboratory time bomb, merging biotechnology with AI, we aren't just making better tools, we're creating successors. We might literally just be a stepping stone for a more alien, highly intelligent, but entirely emotionless entity. Section 5. The Rise of Dataism, a post-human religion built on algorithms. As the humanist belief in our own specialness starts collapsing under its own contradictions, we're witnessing the birth of something entirely new. A belief system that doesn't worship ancient gods and doesn't worship the human soul either. Dataism operates on this cold, totally unforgiving logic. It declares that the universe consists of data flows, and the value of literally anything is determined by its contribution to data processing. Under this ideology, human experiences, our joy, our suffering, our poetry, they're totally secondary to the raw efficiency of the network. In this view, we're no longer the authors, we're just data nodes. To really grasp the scale of this shift, just look at our history. Back in the Middle Ages, the seekers of truth were monks, right? They spent their lives trying to decode the divine mind of God through scriptures. Today, the seekers are data scientists, and they're decoding the algorithmic code of reality through sensors. We traded praying for revelation for training models for prediction. Harari lays out three very distinct paths as we stand at this 21st century crossroads. Path 1, an uplifted humanity, where we use these godlike tools to create deep empathy and health. Path 2, the Dataist world, where we just surrender to the algorithms and become entirely irrelevant. And Path 3, extinction, or total transformation, where Homo sapiens simply vanishes, replaced by whatever it is we create next. We really have to ask ourselves a profound question here. We're standing on the threshold of godlike power. The pen that writes history is passing from human hands directly to the algorithms we built. So, how do we balance the incredible miracle of creation with the very real danger of erasing the human spark entirely? Ultimately, preserving our empathy, our meaning, and our consciousness, that's entirely optional. As the age of Homo Deus dawns, the technology is inevitable, but the morality absolutely is not. So I'll leave you with this to chew on. In this grand new world we're building, will we control the code, or will the code quietly, perfectly control us?